Hey everybody, this is the audio to go with this week's blog on disagreeing gracefully. And I reckon as thought leaders who run commercially successful practices, we're often and clearly in the business of sharing points of view. And when we do this, people can disagree with whatever our shared insight is. And it's like this that I thought we might have a little conversation around today. And sometimes these people who disagree are trolls and critics and are being intentionally disagreeable as it gives them some sense of joy. And the minute you realize that the other is not acting in good faith and is simply being fractious, you can choose to disconnect. You don't owe anyone a response, let alone someone who's in the business of leveraging outrage for likes. So don't feed the trolls, right? And Eckhart Tolle speaks to this in this video. I love the distinction he makes about knowing versus believing, and the idea that when you know something to be true, you have space for others' differences of opinion. And that might just help you with the knee-jerk reaction when people don't like what you write or share or post. And the link to the video is in the text version of this newsletter. Sometimes, though, the difference of opinion is kind of constructive and it has a positive debate-like quality. It's in moments like this where the artful thought leader holds a space for the other's point of view. Masterful thought leaders find a way to be bigger than the conversation that is occurring. They find a place of grace in the debate. Stephen Fry is an author, actor, thought leader, and comedian, and he famously says, one goes to Oxford, he says in his British accent, not to get a degree, but rather to develop the Oxford Manor, which is namely the ability to disagree gracefully. And the idea that we can hold different points of view and that we don't all have to align on everything seems common sense when you lay it out in a flat manner like on text and in this newsletter. But the current climate of outrage and mimetic warfare in the social media and legacy media space suggests that we might need to be more agile around disagreement than common sense suggests. I love what Obama once said, is that we don't have to be disagreeable when we disagree. And I think that speaks to this idea of grace in our differences. Going deeper into this, some really strong academic research out of Harvard by Professor Linda Hill, who wrote a book titled Collective Genius. She unpacks 3 behaviours that high-performing teams share. And one of them really speaks to this idea of graceful disagreement. The first is that high-performing teams work in a marketplace of ideas. And that's something we can all do with like generative brainstorming and just that, ideation as a process of innovation. The second is that they share progress iteratively, which is sort of like it's okay to share unfinished work because the psychological safety in the group is so high, as opposed to feeling like you need to go ta-da and sort of show everyone your finished work. And the third, and this is the one that speaks to this newsletter, is they work with a sense of creative abrasion, and it's like feedback is welcome, ideas are discussed, and points of view are debated. And just as a bonus for those that are listening that's not in the text, there's a lot of sort of command and control narrative around how the military works, but if you have any current modern day experience with a contemporary team in the military, you'll realize that differences of opinion are welcome until the whoever's in charge makes the decision, and then regardless of your opinion you then get on board with the decision. And I love that idea of all thoughts are welcome, all contributions are welcome, and then when the person in charge makes a decision, because we've got to execute, everyone just gets on board and doesn't, politics doesn't ensue, otherwise the mission won't finish. So I love that as an idea. This ability to share points of view, getting back to the newsletter, is what makes you a thought leader, right? And the ability to do so with grace is what makes you an impactful one. So my sign off for this week is in all things grace. Lots of love. See you soon.